Hey, welcome back to Live Code Tuesdays. My name is Sohan Maheshwar. I'm a dev advocate at Fermyon. And with me is Radu, who may be having some internet troubles
Hello.
today. Yeah. Folks, so for those of you all who are just joining in, we've been doing this for the last few weeks. In the last 3 weeks, has it been 3 or 2, Radu? It's been 3 weeks, yeah?
I think 3 weeks.
Yeah, Radu has primarily built a serverless AI app. We've gone through step by step. We started off, we actually built an chat GPT-like chat assistant using a large language model, using serverless AI inferencing. And today, on Fermyon Cloud's birthday, by the way, first birthday, happy birthday, Fermyon Cloud. We are actually going to try and now build CI in using GitHub Actions. But we're going to do it slightly differently because I've actually never built a Spin app with GitHub Actions. So Radu is going to try and teach me how to do it, and in the process, maybe sort of teach everyone watching as well. So yeah, let's see how it goes. Radu, again, full disclosure, I've never built with GitHub Actions and Spin before, so you really have to handhold me
Yep.
through this entire process.
Yep. And hopefully the documentation and the experience for doing that on with GitHub and Fermyon Cloud should be straightforward enough that this should not be a problem. So if not, then we'll have a little bit of tweaking to do on our documentation and examples.
Well, that's one way to sort of improve our docs as well, I guess, do it on live stream. So I'm going to share my screen for a change. For a change, you might not hear Radu's mechanical keyboard in the background, but Radu, if people miss it, maybe you can just tap your keyboard once in a while, so that it brings about
Yep.
some
I
level
could.
of, Yes, there we go. Folks joining in, let us know where you're watching from, or if you're a return viewer, if you're viewing the stream for the first time, would love to say hi again. Yes, Radu. So what we have done so far is I have built, or rather, I have this app that you built, and I have it on my local
Well,
machine.
we built it. We've built it live on stream. So
We built it live on stream. For folks who are joining the stream for the first time, you can find this here, github.com, Radu/my new stream app. Oh, we have a couple of people watching. We have Shalini who says, this is my first stream. Well, welcome to the stream, Shalini. So glad you could join us. Where are you joining from? Lovely to have you here. Yeah, Shalini, so we have actually, on the stream in the last few weeks, we have built this app that you can see on the screen right now. And today we are trying to add a GitHub action to this. So let's see how that goes. Radu, what is step 1?
So I think our goal is to get our application, and every time we merge a pull request or push a commit to our GitHub repo, a GitHub action should kick off a process of building the application, making sure the application builds properly, and then deploy that to Fermyon Cloud. So that I think is the goal that we want to get done for the upstream, right? So for that, first and foremost, I think it's worth making sure the application builds locally so that there's no weird issues in there, and then just try to either create a repo of your own or have a repo that that I set up already and I pre-configured to have our token. So we'll get into that first in a second. But I think that the first step is basically trying to build the application locally. If you first go into the API directory, I think you'll have to do an npm install there, just because it's a JavaScript application. We've now installed the packages. If you go up one directory, then you should be able to do a Spin build, assuming everything is set up.
Yes, hopefully.
So
yeah.
So this
Shalini
will
is joining us
execute
from
each
Chhattisgarh.
build command for.
Sorry, Radu, go ahead.
Yeah, this should execute the build command for each of the components there, and finish building all components. So the application builds for sure. I think it's time to have a little look at the documentation in Fermyon Cloud. So if you go to developer.fermyon.com.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. And if you go to cloud, Cloud. Under tutorials, there should be deploying spin apps using GitHub Actions. So if you're using GitHub as your source control,
We may have lost Radu briefly. Radu is having some trouble with his internet. You're back, Radu. Yes.
Yeah, if you're using GitHub as your source control, then GitHub comes with a built-in CI/CD platform called GitHub Actions, which makes it really convenient to just execute CI scripts, build tools, and have your deploy your application directly from GitHub Actions. So this is basically what we will do. We will use an action called Fermyon Actions, which already configures Spin for you and is able to run Spin deploy automatically for you. So this walks us through creating a GitHub repository, which we've created in previous streams. If you go to github.com, the link for our application, it's there. We have already a GitHub a repository, and so we could skip this one. And then the second step is creating a personal access token in Fermyon Cloud. Now I think it's worth talking about whether we want to create this in your Fermyon Cloud account or mine, or where we will deploy this application. So now's the time to decide that.
You tell me, Radu, but I'm quickly going to, before that, just say hi to a couple of folks. Kartikeya says hello. And Holy Odin from last week also is here saying everyone a bit late. No problem, Holy. We also started a couple of minutes late today. We're doing things slightly differently today. Radu's teaching me how to build a GitHub action that will have continuous integration into my Spin app. I've never done it before, so I might screw up quite a bit, and Radu's going to handhold me through the process, but this is how we all learn. Yeah. So.
Yep. We're using the fact that my internet connection is really bad today to change things around. One comment on CI/CD: unless you've committed 8 times in a row on the main branch trying to get CI to work, that's when you know you're doing CI right. Which.
Yeah. Yeah. So coming back to to connect the Spin app to a GitHub action, we need like a personal access token, correct?
Yep.
So,
yep. I think it's worth just creating this from scratch. So I'm just creating a repo for you, creating a repo on your own, pushing there, creating a GitHub secret with your Fermyon Cloud access token, like the entire process from scratch. I think it's worth going through that.
Okay. Sounds good. So I'm going to... Can I use a template? No. Okay. I'm just going to.
Yeah, you can create a repo from the UI even, or from the CLI. It's your choice here.
Yeah. I'll call it my stream app because that's the. It's available public, all right. Okay.
Yep, and you'll just add it as an origin to the repo you cloned from my account, and just push there, so you don't have to build the application from scratch. So you can do a git remote add Sohan, for example, and then the link to your.
Can I just copy? I can just copy this, right? Hold on. Where am I? This is.
Yep.
Yeah.
It might complain. Yeah, I think you need to do a git remote remove origin first, or name it something else.
Okay.
Yep, and now we'll execute that again.
Yeah.
And then git push origin, maybe? Main.
No. Push origin. Oh. I might have to do this now.
Yep.
We have all of the security things on my GitHub, and rightly so. So there we go. All right.
Cool. So if you go back to the repo and refresh, okay, there's the app. Cool. Back to the docs, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've created the application, pushed to the branch, and now it's time to create a Fermyon Cloud personal access token. And this might be the part that you'll, I think you could create a token, and then before adding it to GitHub, you might want to stop sharing, just because it will, in the GitHub UI, it will display the entire personal access token. But I think this one, it's safe to do because it will truncate the token.
Okay. So we go ahead and add a token, and I'm going to create a token name, stream app, create a token. All right.
Yep. And then you click on it to copy. So this is instead of like similarly to how you log in to cloud.fermyon.com with your username and password. This is for like non-interactive scenarios like CI/CD environments like GitHub Actions, or your script that you want to have access to deploy an application into your Fermyon Cloud account. So essentially, we will add that personal access token as a GitHub Action secret that you can access from a GitHub Action. So in the course of running your GitHub action, the actions environment has access to a bunch of secrets and environment variables, and we're adding that personal access token as a secret. And in the process of executing the GitHub action, spin deploy, which will eventually run as part of the action, will have access to that token, and so it will be logged into your user account, Sohan, because you've used your user account to generate the personal access token. So.
In actions. So I'm just adding it into my
secrets and variables. You have to name it alt caps Fermyon_cloud_token, and that's the name of the secret, and then the value is the personal access token that you just copied.
Secrets and variables, actions, new repository secret. There we go. Secret and Fermyon Cloud token. Done.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just going to share my screen again. Yeah.
Yep. If you go back, it's nothing's visible, so you can safely go back. And secrets and variables, actions, and then if you scroll down, Fermyon Cloud token, it's the value that we generated for, as the personal access token. So, cool. Okay.
All right.
And now it's time to actually create the GitHub action. I can give you a heads up of what follows, which is a lot of YAML and a bunch of times that we're going to try and commit and push to main while we get the GitHub action to run properly. So GitHub Actions expects your workflows to be in the .github/workflows directory. So we'll create that.
And I have to be in my Spin directory to do this workflow, right?
In your application directory, in the root of your repository. Yep.
Okay. Do that. And
I think you can open the entire project in Visual Studio Code or in your editor. And then in the .github workflows directory, inside the workflows directory. Deploy that YAML. Okay. Yep. There you go. So if you go back to GitHub for a second, if you go to github.com/fermyon/actions, This is the GitHub action that we will invoke in the process of building and deploying our application. If you scroll down a little bit, yep, it's an action that sets up Spin for you. You can use it to execute Spin build. You can use it to execute Spin registry push to push your application to a registry. And then you can do a Spin Cloud deploy to Fermyon Cloud by invoking Spin deploy with the personal access token that we just set up. So if you scroll down, the documentation article that you're using is basically a subset of the README from this repository. If your setup is different, in which you want to push to a container registry or deploy to Kubernetes or run your application elsewhere, that GitHub action is flexible enough. You can install plugins as part of setting up Spin. So if you want to install the Kubernetes plugin, that's possible through the GitHub action as well. So please have a look at this repo if your workflow is slightly different than ours.
Yeah, and shout out, I see Rajat is on the stream, also did a bunch of things around like the GitHub Fermyon GitHub Actions. So yeah, shout out Rajat, thanks for watching. Yes, Radu. So now I have my work deploy.yaml file ready.
Yep. And as with any YAML file, we're not going to write it from scratch.
What? I thought that was the point of the stream. No? Okay.
Nope. Indentation alone is something that, So, I think copying this one is fairly straightforward. There's one thing that we need to do. If you open the file explorer for our application in VS Code.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the summary directory is a Rust project. And so my assumption is that we will need to configure Rust as part of our GitHub action. Essentially, the workflow needs to build our application and then push it to Fermyon Cloud. In order to build the application, you need to configure Rust. And so my assumption is we need to configure the Rust GitHub action, which I'm not sure our action pre-configures. If you scroll down a little bit, it might. I'm not sure. Nope. So we need to configure Rust as part of our... Oh, there we go. It's part of the documentation. So you need to just copy the... not all of it, because just the section that configures Rust, And I think the toolchain is slightly old.
Okay. This one?
Latest, cargo version, latest version of Rust.
Oh, we may have lost Radu, but we're essentially looking what the latest version of Rust and cargo is. Yeah, Radu, sorry, we lost you for a second.
Yep. I think it's 173.0.
Okay. So I will say 1.73.
So you can do 173.
Oh, just 173, okay.
Yeah, you leave it at 173, and then we do need to install the Wasm 32 WASI target, because if you go back to VS Code in the spin.toml file, the build action, the build command for our summary component, which is written in Rust, is cargo build target Wasm 32 WASI. So line 44, we need the Wasm 32 WASI target in order to build a WebAssembly module for our application. And then the JS2 Wasm plugin that we configure as part of the GitHub action takes care of packaging our JavaScript application to WebAssembly. So, okay, let's review what's happening in here. So steps, check out the repository, that's line 14. Line 17 installs sets up Spin with the JS2 Wasm plugin. Line 22 to 26 configures the Rust toolchain, so 173. We'll see whether that's the right version. If not, we might have to go back to 172. Not sure if GitHub updated everything yet. And then line 26 makes sure that we install the Wasm32 WASI target as part of our CI. Line 29 now, we do need to run npm install. If you remember, the first thing that we did was run npm install in the API directory, because that's our JavaScript application. So we might have to do cd API and npm install there.
Oh, okay. Is it part of the deploy.yaml though?
Yeah. Yep. You literally all you have to do is cd into the right directory. I'm sure there's a way to point npm install to a specific file, but all you can work around that by saying cd API and npm install.
Yeah.
This will run both commands in succession. Cool. And then line 31, build and deploy. This should execute in succession spin build and then spin cloud deploy using the Fermyon Cloud personal access token that you configured. At a glance, this looks reasonable, but I'm pretty sure we'll find something when first time we run it. So npm-prefix.
Sorry, can you say that again, Radu?
Oh, instead of yeah, I could try that npm. You could, yeah, in your terminal, you could do. Actually, I could do it as well. Npm install prefix API. Yep. So you can do
npm install
dash prefix. Yeah, hyphen.
Prefix. There we go.
API, which is the directory.
Yeah.
And this should, yep. If you run this, yep. So instead of cd API and then npm install, you can do npm install dash prefix API, which effectively achieves the same thing without changing the directory manually. So.
All right. Yeah, so wait, let's take a look where we are at in the documentation. Cool. So we've done with the deploy.yaml file, right? And now we have to just push this workflow to GitHub.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Add, commit, and push to the main branch, and then.
Let's say this. Okay. Git and commit -m. Whatever. GitHub Actions. Oof. All right. Git push.
Origin main.
Yeah. All right.
If you go into the Actions tab, so there's a question in chat. Can't we install Spin like on the first install job and then install dependencies and run Spin? But I think it will install Spin every time when the pipeline runs. Spin will be installed every time the pipeline runs. GitHub Actions works in such a way that you do have to run the setup every time you get a new isolated environment, every time you run a GitHub action. So there are ways to save caches between runs, but that's mostly for compilation caches, not for configured tools. And so we do install Spin on every run of our action. Could you click on the action? I think it should show us logs in real time. There you go. So cool. It did npm install. I think it's now doing Spin build. It's so far it's encouraging. So effectively, the Spin build process will run in order npm run build for our JavaScript/TypeScript component, and then cargo build target wasm32 wazi. So the spin build should finish compiling our application. The cloud plugin is required to deploy the Fermyon Cloud, which is automatically configured now, and it should now deploy the application to Fermyon Cloud.
Nice.
This might be the first time in history where we managed to get a GitHub action on the first try.
I almost feel guilty. Yeah.
No, it's fine. Could you go back to the build and deploy logs so we can get the? If you scroll all the way down, we should get the URL for our web endpoint. Okay, fingers crossed that this actually works. If you click on that, okay, ask it something.
I'm going to keep the traditional life.
Okay.
Ask it about birds. Oh.
And then it updates the title, which is the last thing we did last time. Yeah. I genuinely thought this would fail the first time, so it would take a few minutes to like debug and push again on the branch and try to figure out what's wrong. This will look like it was staged, and it really wasn't. We really figured out 5 minutes before the stream that my connection is not good enough. So
let's wrap it up, Radu. I think we're done here.
No, I think there are a few more things that we can do.
Okay.
So, okay, let's go back to the logs in GitHub.
Yeah.
Okay, so this says, last thing it says is it configured the cloud plugin, it was installed successfully, and then it uploaded the application to Fermyon Cloud, and then the application is ready. So the application is called My New Stream App because it's coming from the spin.toml file. So if you go to cloud@fermyon.com, you should see an application called My New Stream App. Created 2 minutes ago. Looks good.
I mean, okay, so there maybe it's a small chance it's some extensions that I run, or is my internet down? Run Google. Internet's working fine. Ooh.
I have no idea what's happening.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
My New Stream App created. Yep. Okay. So our application is here and it's getting the logs. I think the one thing we want to do right now is push another commit by changing something about our app to see that our CI process actually works, so that every time we push an application, the whole process of building and deploying the application and it being live works properly. So let's change something visible about our app, something maybe on either something that logs in our application or something about the HTML about our application that's visible. I'll leave it up to you.
Okay. Where is our HTML file?
It's in the web directory.
Mm-hmm. Is this the? Am I looking at the right file? Blah blah blah. Send message. Okay. Let's say welcome to the stream app.
Yep.
Okay. And now I can just go back here.
Yep.
Look at status modified. UI change. So. All right.
Yep. And then push. Okay, so hopefully behind the scenes what will happen now is yeah, GitHub Actions will kick off again. I think you need to go back to the Actions tab.
Yeah. No. Okay.
Yep. So this behind the scenes should kick off the entire process that we've done before: installing Spin, installing Rust, Spin build, Spin Cloud deploy. So while that's happening, let's go back to the YAML file in VS Code and just go over once again, just revisit all the steps and make sure that we didn't miss anything. So basically, this is a GitHub action. It runs just on Ubuntu. We don't really need cross-platform workers. This will create a WebAssembly module that will run anywhere, so there's no need to test on multiple platforms. So next, install Spin, install Rust with Spin with the JS Wasm plugin, and then run npm install, and then Spin build and Spin deploy. Cool. This workflow is specifically tailored at taking a Spin application that's running in GitHub that uses GitHub as source control and pushing it to Fermyon Cloud. What if you want to push your application somewhere else, to something like another registry that's not necessarily tied to Fermyon Cloud? Essentially, we could do that as part of our GitHub action. If you go back to the documentation of the github.com Fermyon Actions for a second, in the GitHub repo for actions.
Oh, for actions, yeah.
Yep. If you scroll down a little bit, here you should have examples on how to, if you need to configure specific versions of Spin or additional plugins, you'll find examples of how to do that. But here you'll also find documentation on, if you scroll up a little bit, how to push to a specific container registry. So for example, if you want to push to GitHub Container Registry or to Docker Hub or to ECR, ACR, any of the cloud provided container registries, that's possible as well. And then lastly, as Rajat points out in chat, it also supports passing config variables, secrets, key value pairs, and anything else that you might be able to do on the command line when doing a Spin deploy. So it should be the GitHub Actions is intended to be flexible enough that you could do anything you could do on the command line, you could do with the GitHub action, including Spin deploy with any of the options you get on the command line, or Spin registry push, or Spin or other actions. Lastly, if you configure the Kubernetes plugin as part of your setup Spin action, you could just have a manual step that does Spin k8s deploy, so that you can push to a Kubernetes cluster. You could have your kubeconfig file as a secret and be able to communicate with your cluster if that's a workflow that you might be interested in. And then lastly, if you have a website that you have CI/CD for, you could, for every pull request, you could generate preview environments so that you could see the status of your application as of that pull request, so that you can have deploy previews at every step of the way. It creates GitHub. It creates a Fermyon Cloud application as part of your deploy, and then it's teared down once the pull request is closed one way or another. So if you go back to the UI change, GitHub action, that should have finished, hopefully.
Yes.
So hopefully this was completed successfully. And so if we go back to our application, welcome to the stream app, cool. And so with one YAML file, we managed to create an entire CI/CD workflow that works with Spin, GitHub Actions, and deploys to Fermyon Cloud. So now we're no longer bottlenecked by any one of our machines to do a Spin Cloud deploy. Instead, we have a central step that does all of that for us.
Nice. Folks watching, if you have any questions, now's a great time. We had a great question from Holy Odin earlier as well. And Rado, I think for ideas for future streams, we should absolutely try to do it in the Kubernetes workflow as well, right? Where we do it through, I don't know, we pick one of the options that we spoke about and maybe take us through the entire CI workflow
Yep.
there.
Yep. What I'm thinking we could do next couple of streams is one, have a look at the workflow to push to a container registry instead, so that we could essentially push to a third-party registry, have our application there. We could even, for example, sign our application in the container registry using whatever software supply chain tool for signatures you might be familiar with, and then run it directly from a registry if we want to. And then finally, Yay Kubernetes will definitely have a stream where we take a Spin application, deploy it to Kubernetes, see exactly how that works, what's happening behind the scenes. So cool. If you have opinions about which one we should do next, please join our Discord and then start a conversation there, or leave a comment here. We would love to just have that conversation with all y'all there.
Yeah, for sure. And I've done so many talks at, and I'm sure you have as well, Radu, in like CNCF events and Cube Day and KubeCon. Just such an active ecosystem there. So, I think it'll be fun for us to also sort of, deploy to Kubernetes. For folks watching, and I know a few of you all are here from India, I will be speaking at Cube Day Bangalore in December. So if you're around, please come by and say hi. We will all also be there at KubeCon Chicago next week, Radu, and KubeCon next year in Paris as well, possibly. So again, if you're at any of these events, swing by, say hi, get the Fermyon swag as well. We have some cool swag to give out, so do come by.
Yeah, we'll definitely be at the booth at KubeCon in Chicago, and we'll have a talk, I think, at Wasm Day before, and we'll be there for the whole conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as Raju mentioned, this is our Discord link. So if you're not already on our Discord, join it, swing by. All of us are fairly active there, so come by and say hi as well. Yeah. Holy Odin's
attending virtually. Nice.
Virtually. All right. Yeah, sounds good.
Do you want to go back to the documentation from Fermyon Cloud to see whether there's any other step required here?
Yes.
In the
where was I? Yeah.
That one. Yep. See the application in Fermyon Cloud. Cool. And I think that's the end of our article. Congratulations on deploying your first Spin app using GitHub Actions. That's for you, Sohan. You've successfully managed to deploy your first app using a CI/CD. So cool.
Thanks for the handholding.
With Spin and Fermyon Cloud.
Yes. And like I mentioned, it is Fermyon Cloud's first birthday today, and it's actually today. So happy birthday, Fermyon Cloud, I guess.
Yep. Last year today, we introduced Fermyon Cloud. It was KubeCon Detroit, maybe, during Wasm Day there. And so, yeah, it's a year old, which time flies really, really quickly. So,
indeed.
Yep.
All right. So, are we doing anything else, Radu, for the tech part of today's stream?
No, I think this is a good point to leave it for this week. Next week, depending on what people are interested in, we could either look at deploying to Kubernetes or dive into registries and pushing and signing and running directly from a registry and all of those. Or depending on where we are next week, we'll see. But those two seem like pretty good options in my opinion.
All right. Yeah, folks, so just to give you a recap of what we have done so far, and I'm going to put the link up again just so that you have it. So we started with this My New Stream app, right? We had built it over the last 2-3 weeks. This is the app that you saw. What is Mountain? Right? So it uses a large language model, specifically the Llama 2 language model. So we built it with the KV store. We built it to summarize what the chat is about. And today we actually connected this app for continuous integration with a GitHub action. Right? So we got a personal access token from the Fermyon Cloud. We added it to GitHub so that it recognizes it. And then we added a YAML file, which I will show you here, which essentially does the CI for you, right? So it installs Spin, it installs Rust, does an npm, and then builds and deploys it. And every time we check in code, it creates a GitHub action again, and then it builds and deploys it, right? So if you have any more questions, or if you want to check out GitHub Actions, go to github.com/fermyon/actions. I'm just going to paste this in the comments below, so make sure you check it out. There we go. And yeah, there are a bunch of different examples for different places you can actually install these as well. So, all of it is there in the documentation. Anything else we need to summarize, Radu?
Nope. I think it's noteworthy that we managed to copy parts of and assemble a GitHub action file and have it working on the first try. We didn't even get a formatting error or anything like that. Right? So great job.
Never happened with the YAML file before in my life, so there's a first time for everything. Yeah. Yep. All right, folks, thanks for joining in today's stream. We will see you same time, same place next week. Again, rather, daylight saving switches here in Europe, and the two of us are in Europe. So just make sure you'll watch your clocks again. But I'm so confused with daylight savings, but we'll be here on the next Tuesday.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for joining, folks. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.